Okay, let's unpack this. If you were joining us today, you're already, a dedicated learner. You get the structure, the grammar. You can talk about the facts of English. You can probably narrate your whole day, maybe discuss the stock market or recount a travel itinerary perfectly. But then there's that quiet moment of struggle that so many of us face. It's a moment you have to move from the facts, the what, to the feelings, the how.
That's it. That's the real frontier of fluency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most learners, I find, when you ask them how they feel, they sort of hit a wall.
Yeah.
And they default to that, that basic emotional triad.
Yeah.
Happy, sad, or angry. Or, and this is the worst one, they use the classic conversation stopper we just mentioned, I'm fine.
Right. I'm fine. And that phrase, it's grammatically perfect, but it often just acts as this huge communication barrier.
A massive one.
And that gap, that linguistic chasm between factual certainty and emotional expression is what we're really going to conquer today. We are doing a deep dive into achieving what we're calling emotional fluency. We want you to stop just describing events and start describing your experience of those events. Because fluency, it isn't just about perfect grammar. It's profoundly about connection.
It is. When you can achieve that kind of fluency, your conversations completely transform. They become real, deeply human, and, they're rooted in actual rapport. You start to sound authentic because you're sharing your genuine, complex inner world. So our mission today is to equip you with the strategic vocabulary to express your emotions the way natural speakers do, moving beyond that simple base vocabulary.
And what's so fascinating here, and I think this is crucial for you to grasp, is the cultural context of all this. The way we express emotion in English, unlike some other cultures where being really direct about sadness or anger is valued, it's even seen as a sign of honesty. English speakers often prefer this delicate, deliberate act of linguistic softening.
Precisely. And that softening technique is absolutely essential for social navigation. It lets us communicate difficult or heavy emotions without creating undue pressure or confrontation. It's a mechanism for protecting both the speaker and the listener. And learning the social strategy is, I'd argue, just as important as learning the words themselves.
Oh, wait, okay. For someone just learning, how do they make sure that this softening technique, this slightly indirect language, doesn't just sound like they're deflecting or, like a passive-aggressive complaint? How do we signal that the frustration is emotional and it needs empathy, not just a shrug?
That's a critical question, and the answer it often lies in the choice of words. You want words that signal your internal state rather than placing external blame. So, for instance, consider the difference between saying, I am sad, which is very direct but also heavy, versus saying something like, I'm not really in the mood today. The second one, it suggests a temporary internal low state, low spirits, maybe sadness, but it delivers it so gently. And it makes it much easier for the listener to respond with some casual empathy, like, oh, I get it, rough day.
That makes perfect sense. And we hear this with frustration, too. Instead of saying, I am angry because of this situation, people will say, I'm a bit tired of this situation. Tired is like a Trojan horse for frustrated or disappointed, isn't it?
Absolutely. The word tired there is often just a euphemism for emotional exhaustion caused by irritation. It lowers the intensity from anger down to fatigue, but it still gets the message across that the situation needs to change. And, let's not forget, I'm fine. While it can be a conversational killer when it's used evasively, it's also often used strategically as a boundary. If you don't want to explain why you're stressed, I'm fine respectfully signals, thank you for asking, but I don't really want to share right now.
That's a really powerful reframing of it. So this deep dive is all about strategy then. It's about mastering the full spectrum of emotion, understanding this need for softening, and crucially, focusing on how we respond when others share their feelings. Because language, in the end, is the tool we use to build empathy.
Exactly. Our emotional mission for you, the learner, is confidence. By the end of this discussion, you'll have the words not only to understand others better, but really to express who you are with all your complexities and all your nuances. So let's dive in. Let's start with the high notes.
Let's do it. We'll begin with the universal experience of joy. Happy is the simplest word, but for a learner who's aiming for fluency, just sticking to happy all the time. It's like trying to paint a masterpiece with only one color. English offers so many ways to express different kinds and different levels of positive feelings.
And that progression is key. It's key to sounding natural and precise. We need to be able to move from polite positivity all the way up to, soaring, intense happiness. And we should start with a word that is often overlooked, but is so strategically vital. And that word is glad.
Glad. Okay.
Yeah.
It sits at the low-intensity, high-frequency end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's polite, it's friendly, it's sincere, but it signals non-intensity. You use it in these low-stakes daily situations. I'm glad you called, or I'm glad everything worked out. It just establishes this positive baseline without overwhelming the conversation.
Whereas happy is sort of the base standard, the next strategic step often involves anticipation. And that brings us to the word excited.
Right. Excited is the energy of the future. It means you're looking forward to something soon, whether it's a trip, the weekend, starting a new project. It carries this electric energy of anticipation and momentum. When you say, I'm excited for the promotion, you're sharing that forward-looking energy.
Now, what if we need to convey that this feeling is significantly stronger, super excited, almost ecstatic? Then we move up to thrilled. This word is really reserved for big significant events. It's a major wave of joy caused by something pretty substantial.
Like I was thrilled when I got the job offer, or they were thrilled to hear the excellent news. It signifies a really profound emotional reaction that goes way beyond simple enthusiasm. It's a word you say for the peak moments.
But we can go even higher, can't we? Into the realm of the extremely intense and vivid. We have that beautiful, slightly theatrical phrase, over the moon.
Ah, that phrase is gold. It's gold because it uses a visual metaphor. It means you're so extremely happy that you've metaphorically, left Earth's atmosphere. It's often used in these highly personal contexts, the birth of a child, a marriage, a major life goal being achieved. When he heard the news, he was absolutely over the moon. It's expressive, personal, and it instantly creates a connection.
And we can add a few more high-intensity words for your arsenal here. When you're describing feeling overwhelmingly happy, you might use the word elated. This is a slightly more formal but powerful term that denotes immense pride and joy, usually after an achievement or a victory.
Elated, yeah, that feels like a surge of triumph and happiness all combined. Like the team was elated after winning the championship. It implies a high emotional state, often one that's shared collectively.
Right. Now contrast that with a quieter but equally rich positive emotion. Content. This word doesn't describe soaring joy, but rather a deep, lasting satisfaction and peace. It's that feeling that everything is sufficient and balanced right now.
And that's where the nuance really comes in, isn't it? You might be happy because you got some ice cream,
Right.
but you're content with your life and your relationships. It's a more mature, stable, positive state. And tied closely to both excited and content is the word optimistic.
Optimistic isn't a feeling of the present moment, but it's a positive outlook on the future. It's the hope and confidence that things will turn out well. Despite the challenges, she remains incredibly optimistic about the project's success. It reflects a mindset more than a momentary mood.
Let's pivot now. Let's go from these momentary feelings of joy to deeper positive emotions, the ones rooted in connection and self-confidence. Specifically, I'm thinking grateful, thankful, and appreciative.
Yes, these words are so much deeper than simple happiness. They are expressions of recognition and appreciation. They require a conscious acknowledgement of good fortune or the kindness of others. They connect your feeling of happiness with these external sources.
It's a fundamental difference. If you just say, I'm happy, the focus is internal. But when you say, I'm grateful for my family and friends, you're actively noticing the good things in your life. And this act of naming gratitude, it's often said to reinforce positivity, both for you as the speaker and for the listener.
And there's a subtle distinction here that is valuable for the advanced learner. Thankful is often used for a more immediate, polite acknowledgement, like, I'm thankful the weather held up. Grateful carries a deeper, more profound weight. It often relates to fundamental life elements or long-term support.
I agree. And then there's that crucial self-affirming emotion, proud. This emotion is unique because it's fundamentally about self-achievement and building confidence.
And it is so incredibly important, especially for our audience, for you, the learner. We sometimes see a cultural hesitation to express self-pride. But in English, recognizing and stating your achievements is seen as healthy self-efficacy, not as arrogance.
It's vital. It's vital to be able to say, I'm proud of my progress in English, or I'm proud of how I handled that difficult situation. When you acknowledge your own achievements out loud, you reinforce that progress and you build this significant, durable confidence that helps you grow even faster.
Absolutely. The act of expressing pride is a form of emotional reinforcement.
Okay, let's cover a few essential high-frequency expressions of just feeling good, the idioms and casual phrases you'll hear every single day.
We already covered the classic, I feel good, great, amazing.
Yeah.
The importance here is in that word feel. Emotions are an internal physical and psychological experience. Using I feel acknowledges that inner reality.
And to mix it up, instead of just saying I'm happy, we can express our current energy level with I'm in a good mood.
I'm in a good mood is a great one. It's a declaration of positive energy and openness. It signals to others that you're approachable, that you're enjoying the moment, and its opposite, I'm in a bad mood, is equally common and useful for signaling boundaries gently.
And finally, a highly expressive phrase that connects happiness and gratitude in one beautiful package. It made my day.
This one is fantastic. It means that a relatively small action, a compliment, a message, a small success, caused you great disproportionate happiness. Your surprise visit absolutely made my day. It instantly shows gratitude and it amplifies the joy of that moment.
So to everyone listening, remember that spectrum. From glad to content to thrilled, all the way to over the moon. Practice choosing the word that precisely matches the intensity of your feeling. That precision is the hallmark of emotional fluency.
Indeed. Now that we have thoroughly explored the positive side, it is crucial that we dedicate equal time to navigating stress, frustration, and all the difficult feelings that are just a natural part of life.
Good idea. Knowing how to express difficult emotions in English without sounding, overly negative or confrontational or aggressive, that is maybe the single most important communication skill for real-life interactions.
Absolutely. Life is rarely a flat line of happiness, Everyone feels low or tired or stressed sometimes. The goal here is to communicate those negative emotions appropriately and calmly. And this is where that strategy of softening language becomes essential once more.
This raises an important question then. When we are genuinely hurting or stressed, how do we communicate that fact without sounding like we're dumping a heavy emotional burden onto the listener?
We use general distress signals first. These are gentle ways to signal sadness or low spirits. So instead of the very direct, I am sad, people lean on phrases like, I'm feeling down or I'm not having a good day. These phrases are natural, they're gentle, and they acknowledge the internal shift without demanding immediate intervention.
Right. Feeling down is particularly flexible. It avoids the intensity of, say, clinical depression or strong grief. It's simply a way of saying, my spirits are low today.
And we cannot forget the incredibly useful catch-all phrase for mild negative emotion, which is, I'm a bit upset. Upset is a polite way to express disappointment, mild frustration, or even gentle sadness.
It is remarkably flexible. You can use it in professional contexts. I was upset about the change in the project timeline. Or in emotional context, she seemed upset after the conversation. It works because it avoids the harshness of angry or furious.
And if the emotion is deeper and it relates to genuine loss or disappointment or grief, then we move to stronger terms. For example, heartbroken. It's deep, strong, and powerful.
Heartbroken signifies a profound, severe emotional pain, usually due to loss, a relationship failure, or a deep personal setback. It's poetic and strong, but you have to reserve it for when something truly significant has been damaged or lost.
In a less dramatic but far more frequently useful context, we have disappointed. This word shows maturity and realism when external factors or outcomes simply didn't meet your expectations.
It's such a workhorse word. I'm disappointed with the results of the test, or I was disappointed that the movie wasn't very good. It frames the negative feeling around the outcome, not necessarily around yourself, which makes it easier to discuss.
Now let's turn our attention to the language of pressure and workload. Stress is universal, and English offers a rich vocabulary to differentiate types of pressure. The most common phrase, of course, is I'm stressed out.
Stressed out generally implies too many external demands, often leading to a feeling of being under pressure. I'm so stressed out with 3 exams next week, or the deadlines have left me stressed out.
But the word that really captures the feeling of having too much to manage, whether it's internally or externally, is overwhelmed. This is a crucial one because it's expressive yet gentle. It communicates incapacity without communicating failure.
That is an important distinction. Overwhelmed means the sheer volume of tasks or emotions it's exceeded your mental or emotional capacity to handle them. I feel overwhelmed by all the sudden changes, or even he was overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers. It just admits that your capacity has been exceeded, whether by positive or negative forces.
And to be softer or more subtle about anxiety, you might use the word tense. Tense describes a subtle feeling where your mind and body are sort of coiled up, not relaxed, due to worry or impending anxiety.
It often appears as a physical manifestation of stress, I've been feeling really tense in my shoulders lately, or the atmosphere in the room was incredibly tense.
And then there's the severe form of exhaustion that's caused by chronic, nonstop effort, burned out. This is a highly common word in modern English, associated specifically with prolonged work or study stress.
Burned out means complete emotional and physical exhaustion. You're not just tired, you feel empty. After 6 months of nonstop shifts, I'm totally burned out and I need a break. It signifies that the whole system is just shut down.
And to deepen this section even further, let's maybe add 3 more terms that cover specific emotional valleys. First, miserable. This means you feel profoundly unhappy and uncomfortable.
Right. Miserable covers both physical discomfort and emotional anguish. I was miserable waiting for the bus in the rain, or she's miserable because she misses her home.
Second, the feeling of being jumpy. This is often used to describe someone who is easily startled or highly anxious, usually due to sustained stress.
I'm so jumpy right now, you keep hearing things. It conveys that anxiety through a kind of nervous energy. And third, let's discuss the language of deeper moral frustration. Indignant.
Indignant.
Yeah.
That's when you feel angry or annoyed at something you perceive as unfair or unwarranted or unjust. It's not general anger, it's specific anger rooted in a moral offense.
He was indignant that the company laid off staff after making record profits. This is a mature word that shows your feelings are tied to principles.
Now, moving on to lighter anger, frustration and annoyance. Frustrated is universal when things block your desired path.
And for informal, everyday irritation, we use that highly popular idiom, fed up. This simply means you've had enough of a situation.
I'm fed up with this constant noise, or I'm fed up with the way this issue is being handled. It allows you to express irritation without escalating the situation into actual anger. It's direct, yet it remains casual.
And when you're expressing just generalized annoyance, the key is to use softer language like, that really bothers me, or that's annoying.
Bothers me is significantly gentler than makes me angry. You can calmly state, it bothers me when people arrive late without calling. This maintains your composure while still stating your boundary.
We have to emphasize this again, though. The tone is everything. Saying, I'm a bit annoyed. Calmly is communicative. Shouting it is aggressive. The vocabulary gives you the raw material, but your emotional intelligence dictates the delivery.
And remember that crucial insight we talked about. Naming the emotion upset, tense, indignant, overwhelmed is an act of self-management. It makes the feeling feel smaller, more understandable, because you've given it a label. It stops being this vague, powerful, internal storm.
Exactly. So practice labeling your low points with precision. Expressing negative emotions clearly is not a weakness. It is honest and mature communication. We've navigated the extremes, the peaks of elation, and the struggle of burnout. Now, let's talk about that vital, rich emotional state in the center. Calmness, balance, and peace. And it's not about feeling nothing.
Absolutely. Being calm is a conscious emotional state. It's that peaceful space between too much excitement and too much stress. It's a state many of us strive for, and English provides some beautiful ways to articulate this stability.
So what does this all mean? How do we talk about that peaceful center? We start, of course, with the core terms: calm, peaceful, and relaxed.
These are clear, but there's nuance. Calm is internal stillness. Peaceful is often related to the external environment or a lack of conflict. Relaxed is often associated with the physical body, letting go of tension.
We can add more depth with the phrase at ease. This means comfortable, not feeling nervous or awkward or pressured. It often refers to social comfort. I finally feel at ease when speaking English with native speakers, or I feel at ease when I'm around my closest friends.
And moving to informal usage, we have the widely used chill or chilling. This is everywhere in natural, friendly conversation. I'm just chilling at home tonight. Just means resting and doing nothing stressful.
It's a brilliant way to describe a personality type, isn't it? He's really chill.
Yeah.
That just means easygoing, low maintenance, not prone to drama.
Yeah.
This is the kind of natural English you hear constantly in social settings.
Another great action-oriented word is unwind. It explicitly means to relax the mind and body after being tense. So it implies recovery and a conscious effort.
I need a half hour after work to unwind. Or meditation helps me unwind. It highlights that peace is often something you actively work toward, not just something that happens to you.
And of course, the indispensable friendly advice and expression, take it easy. If someone is rushing or stressed, this is just a kind reminder to slow down, relax, and not worry so much.
It's a phrase that carries such deep, gentle compassion. You've done enough work for today. Take it easy.
Now let's introduce the language of a more stable, mature awareness. The first word is centered. This is an excellent word for describing emotional stability and focus, often achieved after reflection or exercise or a meaningful conversation.
Centered. Yeah, it suggests balance. You know who you are and where you're going. It's a feeling of mental equilibrium.
And related to that is the word grounded. Grounded implies feeling strong, real, and connected to the present moment, often resisting external distractions or drama. It's like saying, I'm okay, I'm in control, and I won't be easily swayed.
We can deepen this vocabulary of stability with words like serene and contemplative. Serene is a very high level of peace, usually referring to a deep, undisturbed calm.
Serene is beautiful. The lake at sunrise was serene. It implies a sort of majesty of calm. And contemplative is the quiet state of mind required to achieve that serenity. It means being reflective, thoughtful, and deeply considering matters.
Right. Someone who is contemplative is choosing inner thought over external distraction, which is a key step toward emotional balance. And let's add resilient. While it's not exactly a passive emotion, it is the emotional stability that allows for calm.
Yes, resilient means the ability to recover quickly from difficult situations. It's the stability that allows you to remain calm even when problems arise. She handled the setback with a resilient calm.
These words help you talk about stability, not just fleeting moods. And that stability is often maintained by phrases like, I'm keeping things in perspective.
Keeping things in perspective is a highly mature phrase. It means consciously preventing small problems from ballooning into big crises. It is a fundamental strategy for emotional balance and reducing unnecessary stress.
And when stress is unavoidable, people often use that simple yet profound phrase that acknowledges our limits. I'm taking it one day at a time.
One day at a time. It's so comforting because it grants you permission not to fix everything immediately. It carries the wisdom of knowing that just focusing on the present is enough.
And notice, if you're listening, the linguistic connection here. When you physically pronounce these calm words, ease, peaceful, unwind, serene, the sound of the language itself often uses these soft, gentle tones. Practicing these calm words can actually help your brain connect English with a sense of internal peace.
That is the essence of emotional self-care through language. When you articulate peaceful concepts, you reinforce that mental state. We encourage you to consciously repeat phrases like, I feel grounded, or I am centered, especially when life feels busy. That's true fluency, feeling the language in your mind and in your body.
With that sense of inner balance established, let's pivot to the external skill that defines us as social beings: empathy. Understanding how others feel is just as important as being able to talk about your own emotions.
Absolutely. Empathy is the cornerstone of connection. We've spent a lot of time defining internal states, but when someone shares their vulnerability with you, how do you respond? How do you respond with care and understanding and support?
When someone shares difficult news, the essential, polite, and compassionate phrase that works in almost any context is, I'm sorry to hear that.
This phrase signals immediate compassion without being intrusive or dramatic. And, crucially, you can strengthen it significantly. I'm really sorry to hear that. That sounds incredibly difficult.
That second part, that sounds incredibly difficult. That's the key to validation, isn't it? It moves beyond a simple acknowledgement to show openness and a willingness to offer space.
This leads us to the most effective empathy phrases, those that validate the speaker's experience without judging or offering unsolicited advice. That must be hard, or that sounds tough.
Okay, let's challenge that for a moment. If a friend says, I'm incredibly stressed about starting my new job, and I immediately respond with, you should try meditation. I've failed the empathy test, haven't I?
You have, unfortunately. You've jumped straight to solution mode. By saying, that must be hard, you show that you're trying to imagine the weight of their situation, and people often need to feel understood and heard far more than they need immediate solutions. Validation first, advice later, and only if it's requested.
That's a powerful lesson. And sometimes just saying, I understand how you feel, makes a big difference. But this one requires sincerity. Empathy is about presence, not perfectly chosen words.
And one of the most comforting phrases in the English language is short, simple, and signals complete, unconditional support. I'm here for you.
It is remarkably powerful. It tells a person they are not alone and they don't have to carry the burden by themselves. It's an open invitation to rely on you if they need to.
And related to that idea, we often use the concept of holding space for someone. Though it's less common as a direct phrase, the meaning is conveyed through actions and phrases like, tell me more, or just, I'm listening.
The power of listening is paramount. So what phrases can we use to show we're actively listening without interrupting or, hijacking the conversation?
We use small, affirming conversational confirmations. Things like, I get what you mean, I can imagine, or that makes sense. These phrases signal that you are truly following and absorbing what the speaker is saying, and it keeps the focus squarely on them.
And remember the nonverbal elements. Tone, rhythm, and silence matter immensely. You can say, I understand, with a kind, soft tone accompanied by a small pause, and that's often far more powerful than rushing into a long speech.
Learners sometimes focus only on the dictionary meaning of words, but emotional communication is heavily carried by the way you express those words, the pacing, the warmth, the gravity.
Let's also talk about positive empathy encouragement. When someone is struggling, or even when they're just being self-critical, you can offer genuine support by saying, you're doing your best.
That phrase shows immense support without pressure. It acknowledges their effort and makes them feel valued. I know things are tough right now, but you are trying, and that is absolutely enough.
And empathy isn't only reserved for pain, it's for sharing joy too. When someone succeeds, celebrating with them is crucial. I'm so happy for you, or that's amazing news, you deserve it.
That shared celebration is what makes communication fully human, connecting through both positive and negative experiences.
What about light, everyday empathy? For casual connection or small talk when someone is mildly complaining about something.
For that, we use, I know what you mean. If someone says, I'm so tired of this constantly wet weather, responding, oh, I know what you mean, it's really draining, is light empathy. It validates their feeling without requiring a deep emotional commitment.
So empathy can range from the deeply supportive, I'm here for you, to the casual, I know what you mean. The essential factor is that it's genuine and sincere.
True connection begins when you ask, how are you feeling? And you are truly prepared to listen to the honest, complex answer. Practicing expressing empathy in English builds confidence not just in your language skills, but in your ability to form meaningful relationships.
Now we arrive at the frontier of emotional fluency, complexity. What happens when emotions don't fit neatly into the simple boxes of good or bad? I mean, real life is full of confusion and layers and contradictory feelings.
This is where we demonstrate true emotional maturity through language. The ability to articulate emotional ambiguity is a powerful sign of advanced fluency. The first and arguably most useful phrase is, I have mixed feelings.
This phrase is such a workhorse. It instantly communicates that you feel both positive and negative emotions about the same thing. For instance, I have mixed feelings about moving to another country. You're excited about the opportunity, but you're sad about leaving your family and your routines.
It communicates an emotional honesty about change, which is rarely simple. And then there's the elegant, concise word that captures this complexity perfectly. Bittersweet.
Bittersweet. It's a beautiful, poetic word that is so common in daily conversation. It describes something that makes you happy and sad at the same time. Think of a graduation. The pride of finishing, which is sweet, coupled with the sadness of saying goodbye, which is bitter.
Using bittersweet immediately elevates your English. It shows a sophisticated understanding that emotions can coexist and even contradict one another.
Now, what about complexity that involves internal conflict, often requiring a choice?
Then we use I'm torn, or the more formal, I feel conflicted. This means you have a deeply difficult choice between two things, both of which feel important, and it leads to this internal struggle.
Let's imagine a scenario to illustrate this for you, the learner. You're offered a dream job in a different city, but it means leaving your current job where you have these incredible coworkers you love. You would say, I'm torn between accepting the offer and missing the people here. It conveys the emotional weight of the decision, not just simple indecision.
And we can introduce a related, slightly more academic word for this dual feeling state. Ambivalent. This means having simultaneous conflicting feelings or attitudes towards something.
Ambivalent is excellent for a high-level discussion. The board remains ambivalent about the merger, meaning they see both the benefits and the serious risks.
Now, moving away from conflict, let's consider uncertainty. Sometimes we simply don't know how we feel, and rushing to label it is counterproductive. For those moments, the softest and most open expression is, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
That phrase grants you essential space to process the emotion. I'm not sure how I feel about starting over again after all these years. It acknowledges ambiguity and avoids a false sense of certainty.
Another common phrase for general ambiguity, especially regarding relationships, finances, or big decisions that require lengthy processing, is simply, it's complicated.
Vague, yes, but universally understood and expressive. It's complicated signals. There are layers of feeling and circumstance behind the statement, even if you don't offer all the details.
For a more casual way to describe general uncertainty or a sense that something is off, especially with friends, people say, I feel weird about it.
That's informal but highly honest. I feel weird starting the meeting without the lead speaker. Or, I feel weird about moving into this empty apartment.
Hmm.
It's a lighter way to admit you're unsure how to process a situation.
And if you want to be more specific about a feeling that something isn't quite right, you can use, I'm a bit confused, or it feels strange, or I'm a little uncomfortable. These gentle indicators just signal a sense of misalignment.
These small descriptive phrases are what make your English sound natural and emotionally rich. Learners often try to translate single-word emotions, but English so often relies on these multi-word descriptive phrases instead.
And sometimes the complexity manifests as longing or nostalgia. For that, we have the word wistful.
Wistful is fantastic. It means having a feeling of vague, regretful longing. It often happens when you look back fondly on the past, realizing those moments are gone. She felt wistful when she saw her old photographs. It's a mix of sadness and gentle, positive memory.
And finally, you don't even need to define the complexity perfectly. You can use these meta phrases that convey nuance like, it's kind of hard to explain, or the brilliant concept phrase, it's not black and white.
Not black and white is essential. It instantly communicates emotional intelligence, the ability to accept that opinions or feelings are nuanced, ambiguous, and that you recognize both sides of the emotional coin.
When learners start using expressions like bittersweet, or I'm torn, or I have mixed feelings, they sound immediately more sophisticated. That is the definition of emotional fluency.
I agree. Emotional fluency means expressing your real, complex feelings with clarity, with honesty, and with kindness, recognizing that life isn't a series of simple emotional labels.
I love that summary. So let's take a moment to reflect on the immense value of this journey. Learning to articulate your feelings in English precisely, it changes the way you understand yourself and interact with others.
After covering the whole spectrum, happiness, stress, peace, empathy, and complexity, I realized the biggest gain is internal. We stop hiding behind simplistic words like fine or okay, and we start genuinely identifying what we mean. And this clarity, it often leads to a lighter, more controlled, emotional life.
And what's fascinating here is the shift in cognitive strategy. Once you can accurately describe your feelings using this rich English vocabulary, you stop translating emotions from your native language, and you start feeling and responding directly in English. The language becomes a seamless extension of your inner world.
That is the definitive step toward true fluency. Real communication is not just the transmission of facts, it's the sharing of your inner life.
And remember the authenticity principle. Your expression does not have to be grammatically perfect. The simplest, most honest phrases, I'm feeling tense, I'm proud of my progress, I'm grateful for today, build confidence precisely because they are sincere.
And that sincerity is what builds trust and deeper connections, whether you're talking with friends, colleagues, or family. The goal isn't to sound robotic or perfect. It's to sound authentic. Your honesty matters far more than your accent or any momentary grammatical slip.
Fluency truly begins the moment you stop worrying about how you sound and you start focusing on what you genuinely want to express. You gain control when you gain the language to name your internal state.
I couldn't agree more. Learning how to express feelings in English is a journey that simultaneously builds linguistic confidence, interpersonal empathy, and profound self-awareness. Every time you successfully articulate an emotion using this new, rich vocabulary, you are learning a new way to understand yourself and your place in the world.
So, to everyone listening, keep exploring your feelings in English. Practice saying how you feel daily, when you are elated, when you are burned out, when you feel proud, or when you are ambivalent. Make it a daily reflection.
It is all part of being human and being fluent. The more you use emotional English, the more natural and confident your conversations will sound, and the deeper your relationships will become.
Fluency does not come from passive memorization. It comes from actively living the language.
Living the language, I love that.
And remember this final provocative thought. Every single time you choose a precise and honest word to share a feeling in English, you are not just practicing vocabulary, you are connecting hearts, one carefully chosen word at a time.